vice chair in my place. First thing we'll start off is the Pledge of Allegiance. Now we'll turn this over to Reichert.
He was the third grade president, currently a band librarian. Importantly to me, he's a swimmer, so you know he has to be a good guy. He swims competitively for Pelican Athletic Club. He qualified for the state swim championship, and that is a great accomplishment for him as a young man and a young swimmer. He loves to learn about space, read fantasy books, and play the trumpet. Alex would like to become a rocket scientist at NASA. He loves space, and he hopes to one day take his passion and put it into practice. Let nobody say that we don't have great kids in St. Tammany Parish. Alex, would you come forward and lead us in the pledge, young man?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Reichert. At this time, I would like to turn over to David Fitzgerald, who will introduce Reverend Emil Russo.
Thank you. It's a true joy to have the honor of introducing our pastor at Fitzgerald Methodist Church, Reverend Emil A. Russo, Jr. Pastor Russo grew up around Biloxi, and since that time has expanded his field of reference remarkably. Licensed to preach since 1966, Pastor Russo is also an Army vet, having served during the Vietnam era, 1969 through 72. He has served churches from Mississippi to Okinawa in just about every role a minister can perform. Highly experienced, a dedicated minister, he's also an author with numerous publications. Of all his accomplishments, too numerous to mention, the one that stands out to us at Fitzgerald is his willingness to heed the call and be our pastor. A true man of faith and a great leader, Pastor Rousseau.
Let's pray together. Most gracious and holy Father, we find ourselves coming into your presence, knowing of your love and your care for all of us. And Father, it's so wonderful to be able to pray in a public meeting. And we do pray, Father, as you have taught us to pray. Pray for those who have authority over us, that we may live peaceable lives. Give grace and wisdom. Help us, Father, to lean on you. And may each official throughout this entire parish, our state, and our national government look to you, the author and finisher of our faith. Again, Father, give wisdom, give grace and peace. And we pray for our state as they face difficult times and the storms that are coming. May we be like Peter, who walked on the water, knowing we could trust you. Give that grace and peace to us, and watch over us and protect our wonderful state. For we pray in the matchless name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Dean?
Here.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Toledano?
Present.
Mr. Tanner?
Here.
Mr. Belisario?
Here.
Mr. Lorino? Mr. Groby?
Here.
Mr. Canulet? Ms. O'Brien? Here. Mr. Stefanczyk?
Present.
Mr. Bender?
Here.
Ms. Blanchard?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. Before we start the agenda, I want to read the public comment. As you see up here on the side, on the tables on the side up front here on both sides, we have a 3-minute time limit for items that is established for each member of the public wishing to speak for or against an item on the agenda. That will be the ordinances for introduction of resolutions, except appeals. Those cards are blue. The time limits for appeals is for each side. There's 10 minutes for both sides, but you have the right to use all of that. There's 3 minutes for rebuttal, then 2 minutes for conclusion, which is normally handled by the council members to ask questions of either side. Thank you. Under presentations, number 1 is Ms. Pat. She's the presentation of proclamation by St. Tammany Parish government for the employee of the month. Ms. Pat?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's always my pleasure to make this, to read this proclamation to our employees of the month. So this month, Chad Freeman has been a dedicated St. Tammany Parish employee since August of 2010 and serves as a utility operator 2 in the Department of Environmental Services and is a Louisiana Department of Health certified water operator with Tammany Utilities. And whereas Chad performs vital maintenance on Tammany Utilities' 20 public water systems, including pump inspections, helping coordinate boil water advisories, and flushing of the water lines to maintain water quality. And whereas Chad displays a tremendous amount of dedication and commitment to keep the water systems in continuous operation. He is often called out after hours to address system matters to prevent water quality issues or disruptions of service. And whereas Chad is dedicated, extremely reliable, and takes great pride in his work. He openly shares his experience and job knowledge with his fellow employees so that they will grow in the skills necessary to provide excellent customer service. And whereas Chad Freeman is an overall outstanding employee and performs his duty in an exemplary manner, he is a valued member of St. Tammany Parish team. Now, therefore, I, Patricia Brister, as president of St. Tammany, do hereby recognize the hard work and accomplishments of Chad Freeman, Employee of the Month for July 2019. And as always, I encourage all employees of St. Tammany Parish to thank him for his contributions and commitment to St. Tammany Parish. Chad, thanks for all you do and all the hard work, especially in this hot, hot weather. So thank you very much. The boss. Thank you. Thank you. Can I have something? Yes, please.
I'd just like to,
Introduce yourself.
Tim Brown, Director of Environmental Services. I'd just like to add to that Chad is extremely reliable. He's been a great employee for us. We very much appreciate what he does. But in addition to that, I'd like to thank his wife, Crystal, back there in the back. For our utility employees, they can be called out at any moment, and so it puts a strain on family life sometimes. And so I'd like to thank Crystal for allowing us to borrow her husband, unscheduled events. So thank you very much, Crystal.
Okay, item number 2 on the presentations, a proclamation of achievement by Mickey Carroll. Ms. Pat?
Yes. Mr. Carroll, and any of your fellow veterans that you would like up here with you, please come on up. All of you. Because we're so proud of our veteran community here that we love to show them off as often as we can.
That's for sure.
Thank you. Come up, guys. I know you all are proud of this also. So whereas C. Michael Mickey Carroll is a decorated U.S. Army veteran, businessman, and community leader, on July 1st, 2019, he was appointed as the Louisiana State VFW Commander and will serve as commander until June 30th, 2020. And whereas in 1970, at the age of 18, Mickey joined the U.S. Army, He completed his military training at Fort Polk in Louisiana and Fort Rucker in Alabama, and was assigned to a tour of duty in Vietnam as Flight Operations Specialist with the 273rd Heavy Helicopter Company and the 120th Assault Helicopter Company from 1971 to 1972. After serving in Vietnam, he returned home to the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell, Kentucky for 18 months before receiving an honorable discharge. And whereas during his military service, Mickey received many military awards, including the Vietnam Service Award, Vietnam Campaign Award, Combat Air Award, Army Commendation Award, the National Defense Award, and the Good Conduct Award. And whereas after his military discharge, Mickey returned home to Picayune, Mississippi, and worked as a fireman. On April 4th, 1994, he married Lori Ann Park, and together they grew a beautiful family of 4 children, 9 grandchildren, and a dog named Elvis. Together, Mickey and Lori owned and operated 2 convenience stores in Lacombe, Louisiana. And whereas in 2000, Mickey became a member of the Davis-Moran VFW Post 8290. After he sold the convenience stores and retired in 2007, he fully engaged in the work of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. During his tenure, he has served in many roles, including construction chairman, quartermaster, post commander, District 9 commander, state inspector, junior vice commander, senior vice commander, and presently serving as state commander for the Department of Louisiana, which has 12,000 members and 82 posts throughout the state. And whereas C. Michael Carroll has been a devoted husband, father, and grandfather, and has given lifelong service to his family, his community, and to his country. He is truly an American hero, and we thank him for his continued service. So therefore, I, Patricia Brister, as President of St. Tammany, do hereby recognize and congratulate State of Louisiana VFW Commander C. Michael Mickey Carroll, and I encourage all our citizens of St. Tammany to thank him for his lifelong contributions, not only to his friends and family, but the community and our country. Mickey, thank you for everything you do, and thanks to all of you. Come on in. Everybody come this close. Thank you all very much.
The auxiliary, his wife,
Uh-huh.
the auxiliary, 3 years in a row, all state.
Good. Good. Thank you. Congratulations. And thanks for everything you all do.
That's why I still speak English, since that's my language.
Thank you.
Do I have, can I permit, address the council?
Absolutely, you may.
Thank you.
Of course.
Just a few words, a couple of pages. No, I know y'all have real business here, and there's a guy named Barry out there kicking up a fuss, and there's a lot more than me to worry about. I wanted to quickly tell you about the VFW you have here in St. Tammany Parish. I thank you immensely for the recognition that you just gave me, but it's not deserved. People who deserve it are the ones standing behind me here and the ones that are not here tonight. They are the ones who need this credit. St. Tammany Parish is blessed with 5 VFWs. They have over 500 members between them. They perform at the highest level of VFW programs. Always there are children, teachers, firefighters, law enforcement officers that compete and win at state levels of the VFW competitions sponsored by these posts. St. Tammany VS Post has been recognized as some of the best in the state of Louisiana. This year alone, Audino Springs will receive All-American honors at the National Convention. That's the ultimate
for the VFW Post, All-American. They've always had strong entries into the VFW programs and always perform well for their communities. The Slidell Post will also receive All-American honors at the VFW convention this year. You don't understand, there's 6,500 posts throughout the world, and these are one of the few that achieved that out of 6,500 posts. Pearl River District 9 Commander Joe Seeley was named All-State District Commander. There were only 2 districts in the state that achieved that. District 9, St. Tammany Parish, was one of those. Orlicombe Post Auxiliary achieved the highest honor in the auxiliary by being the outstanding state auxiliary 3 years in a row. It's unbelievable. And right now they have a patriotic art contestant that is competing nationally. They could walk away with it all. An immense prize at the end of it. Next year we will be back, and we will ask you to recognize Miss Wanda Farb. Miss Wanda. She will be the next lady president of the auxiliary for the state of Louisiana, from St. Tammany Parish. St. Tammany Parish has leadership throughout the VFW. Our Covington Post, John is rebuilding, and he needs our assistance, and we will be there to help him. But the VFW is strong in St. Tammany. All posts are 100% membership, and they are a leader in supporting department programs. In closing up, I'll say this to you. You can be proud, very proud, of your veterans of foreign wars in St. Tammany Parish, because they are some of the best in the nation. Thank you.
All right, we have presentation number 3 under T.J. Smith. He's going to introduce Guyana Wiggins with the United States Census regarding the 2020 grant program, census program. T.J.?
Testing. Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Be very brief. For the next few minutes, we're going to be given some information from the United States Census Bureau and the Atlanta Regional Census Center representative who goes by the title of a partnership specialist that is assigned to 5 parishes of which we are a part of. I think it's 5, could be 6. And she's going to be sharing with us some information concerning the decennial, the census that will be taking place in 2020, next year, and what role we are being asked to play in that operation. On our agenda, on the resolution, we will be entertaining a resolution as it relates to the information that's going to be shared with us tonight. So, Ms. Kiana Wiggins from the Atlanta Regional Census Center.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Smith. Hello. So my name is Kiana Wiggins, and I just want you to know that I am not from Atlanta. Yes. Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Don. So Mr. Don, assist me with my presentation. I am from Louisiana. My husband just texted me. He is a business analyst for the Chevron Corporation, so he works here in St. Tammany Parish. I used to work for Chevron. I was on the team that built North Park. So I was the public affairs representative for Chevron at the time when we were leaving New Orleans in 2008 to buy the land and construct the property over in St. Tammany. So I am not from Louisiana. I graduated from Dillard University for my undergrad in journalism and my master's in rhetoric from Tulane University. So I'm really good at convincing y'all of what I want. So the Atlanta Regional Census Center includes Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, North and South Carolina. In the past, we were a part of the Dallas Regional Census Center in 2010. That didn't do so well for us because we lost a congressional seat. So the Census Bureau felt that maybe Louisiana should be better aligned with Mississippi and Alabama. What is the census? The census, the decennial census, is mandated by the U.S. Constitution every 10 years since 1790 that that's how we do reapportionment and how we distribute the budget for the United States. The first census in 1790 counted 3.9 million inhabitants. Notice I said inhabitants. You do not need to be a citizen of the United States to be counted. We want everybody in the United States to be counted in the census. So what does it mean to be in the census, to have the census? Political power and money. $675 billion each year for the next 10 years, starting after the count, right, will be distributed among the states. That's approximately $4 trillion over the decade. We want Louisiana to have her fair share. So I want Louisiana, I'm from Louisiana, I did not brain drain. I chose to stay here, and I made a successful career out of myself from staying in Louisiana. But we want everybody, this young man, well, he left, but Alex, we want Alex to make sure he can stay here at home in Louisiana and he can have a successful career. So we want to make sure to get that count. What else the census decides is political power. The census constitutionally mandate for reapportionment of Congress. Currently, we have 435 members in the House of Representatives. As we know, the House of Representatives is decided by population. How do they get the population? The census, right? So let's take a look at California, for example. California had 2 major earthquakes, right, back to back. I didn't hear not a one California person begging for FEMA, right? Did y'all hear that? We are freaking out barriers in that water, right? Because we know when we go, and if Barry does detrimental damage to the state of Louisiana, we have to beg. Why do we have to beg? We have six congressional seats. California has 53. And that power means something, no matter your political position. They work together for California. We work together for Louisiana, but it's just 6 of us. And it's so much you can do with that. So we want to make sure that Louisiana does not lose a seat and that we may gain. So we want to maintain or gain our political power. The census protects your privacy. When you take the census, we do not sell your information. You will not get crank calls. You will not have ICE come after you if you are not a citizen of the United States. We will not help the sheriff to give you your traffic warrant because you didn't show up in traffic court. We will not ask for your social security number. We will not ask for your PIN number. We don't do any of that because we are sworn by the United States Constitution to protect that information under Title 13 U.S. Code. So what does that mean? We never ask for money. We are nonpartisan. The U.S. Census Bureau is nonpartisan. We are sworn to the United States Constitution. When I took an oath to take this position, I was sworn to the Constitution. And mind you, I was a stay-at-home mom before I took this job, so this is really personally important for me. My bodyguard is ignoring me at the moment. And so, so this is really important for me that I chose to come out of being a stay-at-home mom to make sure that Louisiana gets her fair share, and this was my opportunity that I could serve the state of Louisiana. So we never ask for PIN codes. If anyone is asking you for any of this, please call the police. They do not work for the Census Bureau. Some other ways we use census data, we don't just work for the decennial. We work 365, right? It's called the American Community Survey. One important one is important to me because my mother is over 65, is we use census data to design facilities with people with disabilities and or facilities for the elderly. Our population is aging. 10 years from now, you're going to be older. My mother will be over 75 10 years from now, right? So we want to make sure we have facilities in place that they can use. I grew up in Jefferson Parish, and so they are still using the same bus routes from when I graduated from high school. And I graduated from high school 25 years ago. And they are literally using the same bus routes because they use census data to forecast transportation, and they're not getting, how should I say this? They're not getting the right data from the census, from the respondents, to make sure that they are there for their residents, right? So we also use census data for business industry, for housing, health insurance. These are just ways we use it, and we use that through the American Community Survey. If you want to check to see if your district is a good responder of the census, you can go on census.gov and click on the Response Outreach Area Mapper. We call it Rome, and you can decide, like, what is your census count. Louisiana is not the best. It's just not. St. Tammany, you guys don't do so bad. It's about 70% in the 2010 census, but that's still not the greatest. The greatest is 80% participation. So you guys are the top of the bottom, and we want everybody to be the top. Because it's proof in the pudding. We lost the seat. We lost the seat. We lost the 3rd and the 7th congressional district, battled it out. Y'all remember that? It was awful. And I don't think it's because we don't have the population. Clearly, 190 shows you we have people here. They're not being counted, and that's why we need them to be counted, so we can make sure that we have the right resources. And when we count them, my goal is to count them once and only once and in the right place. So if you have a child at LSU and they live on campus, LSU shall count them, right? Do not count them in your house. If you have a child that is a child of divorce and they split their time, they're counted in the house where they live the most. If you are a grandparent that take care of a kid, sometimes they're counted wherever they spend the time the most. I use the example, I have a 13-year-old sister. I know the women in my family, we have babies old, so I'm nervous right now. So I have a 13-year-old sister, and she is with me most of the time because she and my daughter attends the same school. So 9 months out of the year, she's with me at my house, but she lives with my mother. When the census comes around, I count her because she's taxing my neighborhood, right? She's using my streets, my electricity, and that's the way it works. So we want to make sure. Children are not counted, and it matters. Because if you don't count a 1-year-old baby, think about the 10 years, right? So, child is 1 in 2020, a child is 11 in 2030, right? That's 10 years they went without being counted. I went to John Ehret High School. John Ehret was only built at the time when I went for 1,500 people. About 2,500 people was at John Ehret when I was there. I graduated with 680. It shouldn't have been like that. So guess what happened when we ate for lunch every day? Pizza and hamburgers. Because they have to buy enough food to feed every child, whether it was free lunch or pay lunch. I paid for lunch, but that was my choice, right? So when you don't count the children, it affects school nutrition. It affects the foster care program. By the way, foster parents, please count the children in your house. You are fostering them. You are caring for them. They are your responsibility. They should be counted with you. It affects the Medicaid program, children health insurance. Why do we run out of money? Because the $675 billion that comes to Louisiana are only giving you the amount for the count you gave. But then, so say 500 kids need La Chip. 10,000 kids apply for it. You get 500 for 500, right? We don't want it like that. We want every Louisiana resident to get their fair share. That's our fair share, and we want that. So what do I want St. Tammany Parish to do? I would like for you to pass a resolution saying you publicly support the 2020 census. With that, you are creating a complete count committee. A complete count committee, you are the trusted voices. You go out and you help talk about the census. I live in Orleans Parish. I have ties to St. Tammany Parish, but I'm not an everyday resident. So they would be more apt to listen to you, to listen to the community. Who can be in the complete count committee? Business leaders, church leaders, civic leaders, government leaders. We want everybody a part because we want to reach everyone. Your civic leaders will know where your hard to count areas are, such as overcrowding in housing, right? We won't tell your landlord that you lied and said only 2 of y'all would live in this 1-bedroom apartment, but you have 7 of them living there. The landlord will not find out from the census, but we need to understand that count because clearly there's a housing issue there, and we want to make sure people are not living like that, right? So that's what I want from you guys. From that information, I will take it to to towns, the towns in St. Tammany Parish, and ask them to do the same thing. It's going really well in Tangipahoa Parish. It's going really well in Washington Parish. They've all passed resolutions, and most of their towns have passed resolutions as well to support the census count. So you guys can tailor the message to however you want it to be. It's your message. The main message is count them once and only once and in the right place and take the census. And be truthful. Do not lie. It's okay to tell anything you want on a census because we don't give that information away. It's the truth because we need that truth to make sure that when the money comes down from the federal to the state, that St. Tammany gets their fair share, their right amount. So I'll support you in any way. I'll give you any kind of materials and messaging you need to get that information across. So how does the census, So some examples is in New Jersey, they do like a sign, a traffic sign. I already talked to Carlton. He says he's going to do one on the causeway. He decided to be a complete count committee, and he's going to advertise the census, and it's going to say something like, the census is coming, take the census. We're still trying to work out the language. And it's going to air on the causeway from February to the end of April. So those are examples, simple examples. A complete count committee isn't really that difficult. We can piggyback on things you're already doing if you're having, for example, the Madisonville Boat Festival. So when I worked for Chevron, part of my job was to provide social investment to make sure that festival keeps going. So that's a great example to pass out flyers to talk about the census at the Madisonville Boat Festival. So anything at the farmer's market and St. Tammany Trace, at the, do they still do the concerts? Yes, at the concerts, the Four Rivers, and, all of those great events. Those are examples where you can talk about or have trusted voices there to just hand out information about the census. So the census is different this year. It's only 10 questions, and it's done online. You'll get a card in the mail that looks like a Louisiana voter's registration card, and it'll have a website and a password, and you go in on any electronic device and fill it out. But there are rural areas. There are some people who do not have access. So what happens on that card? It'll have a 1-800 number on that card as well. You can call an enumerator on the phone, and they can take your information. Or if you're old school and you want a paper census, we will mail it to you. And that's the way we're doing the census this year. So what'll happen? The Constitution says April 1st, 2020, but back then it was only 13 states, and as you know, 3.9 million people, we cannot do that on one day. So we have to start early. March 12th through the 20th, you'll get that card in the mail. March 16th through the 24th, you'll get a reminder. If you do not respond, what's going to happen? An enumerator will knock on your door. That means you're bad. You're a bad person. You are not following your civic duty as an American to take the census. You are not living up to, we hold these truths to self-evident. You're not living up to that, and you're making the enumerator come out and knock on your door to demand to give you your fair share. So that's April 26th to April 3rd. March 26th to April 3rd. If you still ignore my enumerator, April 8th through the 16th, they're going to keep coming. April 20th through the 27th. So we're going to come 3 times, and guess what? They'll stay with you, and they'll say, oh, you didn't take Miss Pat. I know you wouldn't do this, but Miss Pat, you did not take my census. Would you like me to sit with you and use my device, and you'll take your census? Notice I said it's self-reporting, so you have to self-report. Back in the day, we had U.S. Marshals doing it. That didn't go so well, right? So that didn't go so well. So now we have trained enumerators to help people self-report. And she self-reports on those 10 questions. And that's it. But April 27th, midnight, if you have not taken the census, Louisiana will get what she get. And like I tell my Chloe, I said, you get what you get and you don't have a fit. And that's it. And that's what's going to happen. But I want us to get the best, right? Because I still love Louisiana, and I'm still here, and I'm raising my daughter here. And guess what? We are hiring. Guess how much we're paying? $15.50. Guess how much is minimum wage? $7.50. That's how bad we need people to get this word out. And guess how many people we hired in St. Tammany so far? About 300. I have the number right here. It's so bad. They won't even apply for jobs. We have 1,421 jobs available. We have to fill 1,058 for the whole parish. So after this, I'm coming to Slidell, I'm coming to Abita, I'm coming to Covington, I'm coming to Madisonville, I'm coming to Mandeville, and I'm going to speak to every one of their councils to let them know this is a good job. You get paid every Friday. The minimum is 4 hours. You can work just 4 hours. You can work part-time. The hours are flexible. One caveat, you must be a U.S. citizen or have proper work permitting to work for the federal government. You do not need that to take the census. You definitely need that to work for us. So we are hiring. So at the Madisonville Boat Festival, we want you to say, hey, y'all know the census hiring? They pay $15.50 an hour. That's amazing, right? And the next steps, I want you to say yes. I want you to all overwhelmingly vote for my resolution and say we publicly support the census, and we will get the word out, and we will make sure St. Tammany Parish is awesome. So when they compare 2020 to 2010, it'll say 92%, right? Right? And so that's about it. I am out of time. Thank you so much. I appreciate everything you've given to me. Do you have any questions?
Jerry Bender. Mr. Bender.
I'm confused by microphones. This one's mine. Okay.
Yes.
Miss Wiggins.
Yes, sir.
Second time that we're hearing your presentation.
Yes, sir.
You did a great job the first time to the census work group. Very, very. Do you drink a lot of coffee?
I drink, maybe not coffee.
I know you're not drinking decaffeinated. I know that
I
much.
was an oil woman. You got to learn how to drink something.
Let me tell you what.
Get on those
I
rigs.
want to say
no,
this.
Safety first.
I really appreciate the fact that you're driven to what you do.
Thank you.
Okay? Your energy is wonderful.
Thank you.
It is very important what you're professing, okay, and asking us to get all in on. And this is a compliment.
Yes, sir.
Listening to you twice is like seeing my favorite movie a second time. You ought to be congratulated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was outstanding.
Thank you. Thank you. No questions? All right. Well,
All
I
right.
appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to appointments. Number one, a resolution to reappoint James Coor, term expires 9/21/19 on the Board of Directors for Hospital Service District Number 1, St. Tammany Parish Hospital. It involves Districts 2, 3, and 6. Mr. Thomas. Thompson.
Second.
Okay. Motion was made by Red Thompson, second by Marty Dean. Is there any discussions? Please vote.
Mr. Canulet?
He walked away.
Right, here it comes.
Chris, you have to vote.
Waiting on
Too
you.
late. I've already gotten out of it.
No. You and Steve have to vote.
No, they can't.
Oh, locked out?
Yeah?
You're locked out. Okay.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay. All right, we'll go to item resolution number 2. It's to appoint a new member to replace Robert Cook Jr., resigned on the Board of Commissioners for the Parish Tourism Commission parish-wide. Note, if no other nominees, the rules can be suspended to appoint, which requires 10 votes, 2/3 of the membership. Mr. T.J. Smith, you have a nominee?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to nominate Mr. Alex Corolla.
Second. Is there any other nominations? Second?
You have it second.
A second.
Either Jerry or myself.
Okay.
Move close.
Okay. All right. Yes, please vote. No? Nomination? Okay. We need a motion. Okay, Jerry, go ahead with the motion.
I'll let Mr.
Go
TJ.
ahead.
Mr. Chairman, considering that we have one nominee, I would make a motion to suspend the rules to adopt.
Second.
All right. Second by T.J. Smith. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to resolution number 3. Resolution to appoint a new member to replace James Davis III, resigned, to the Board of Commissioners for Parish Planning and Zoning Commission, parish-wide. Note, after the vote, in order to ensure a quorum, the rules need to be need to be suspended to appoint, which requires 10 votes, 2/3 of the membership. The nominees are Tom Ballantyne, Weldon Crawford, and Sharon Lemoyne. We need everybody has been given an Excel spreadsheet to put their names and select. Mr. O'Brien, you want to speak?
Yes, okay, my microphone is on. I wanted to mention that Mr. Ballantyne has served on the Board of Zoning Adjustments and has stated that he would love to continue serving St. Tammany Parish on the Planning and Zoning Commission. If you looked at his resume, he's very well educated at Georgia Tech, U.S. Navy Academy, and Harvard Graduate School. And I did want to mention that when I was looking at the makeup of the Planning and Zoning Commission, I did notice that Todd Reichert, who is mentioned as a Mandeville resident, no longer lives in Mandeville. He lives in Covington. And at this particular time, we don't have one single person from the city of Mandeville that is represented on the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I realize that we are looking for skilled people first, and I certainly agree with that. But I would argue that Mr. Ballantyne is very well educated, has a wonderful resume, and again, would be a representative from Mandeville. So I respectfully ask for you to consider and and vote for him. Thank you.
I just put my background. I'm looking for any other possible nominations before we close the floor. Does anybody have any to nominate? Mr. Tanner?
Sean Lemoyne.
Well, he's already on here. He's the third name.
Okay. I thought you.
Need a second on the motion to close? Michelle Blanchard? Okay. Please vote. Just check it off. And what we will do is we will table this so that our staff can do the count. And what we're looking at is whatever one of the three gets the most votes is the one who will be appointed. And once that count is done, then we'll stop where we are after whatever item we're on. When that's completed, we will then announce who is the new appointee.
We have to have a vote to close.
I need a vote to close. All right. Okay. Okay. Jay Groby and seconded by Reichert Audino.
We had that. We need to physically do the vote.
We need to vote.
This is to close the nominations. Chris made the motion to close. I second it. We're doing the vote to close the nominations,
Yeah.
which will leave us 3 to vote upon.
Right. All right, we need to, this vote to close everything to vote. So please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
All right, we'll give everybody a chance to vote, and then we'll move on to the next item.
Gene, you
All right, Jerry Bender was first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I simply would like to get a clarification on, I believe, a plurality, which would be if, with 3 candidates, if one does not get a requirement of 7 votes, which is a majority tonight, correct? Then the top 2, I believe, would then have to be another vote. I don't think you can win in a plurality, like 5 to 4 to 3. Is that correct? Okay, so.
I'm going to pass it on to Carlin Rouse, because I was told whoever it was of the 3 got the most votes would be the one that would be appointed. Is that incorrect?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can y'all hear me? Is my mic on?
Yes.
Okay. No, Councilman Bender is correct. If one person only gets, for example, 6 votes, you'll have to vote again to
Okay,
make
so
sure
we have
that
to
you
get to
the-
8, is what you're saying?
Correct.
No, I thought it was, so you're not looking at the body of 14 with 1 down, so you're dropping the number to 7. Right.
Vote.
Let me double check that particular thing, and by the time you get around
Okay.
to voting, I'll have an answer.
I thought it would be the 14, if someone's absent, it just makes the hurdle more difficult. That was the understanding I had. All right, everybody's voted, so what we will do, Mr. Tanner,
My question is, this is a parish-wide appointment,
Yes.
so don't we need to suspend the rules if we're going to vote on this?
On whoever is the appointee.
Well, that's what we're doing now, right? You-
Right, They're counting the numbers now. Once we were told, then we'll make the motion to suspend and adopt.
You don't have to suspend the rules to vote.
Okay.
All right. Are you all completed already? Oh, they need your vote. Mr. Tanner? He's, wait a minute, he was thinking about who he was going to vote for. Okay. Thank you, Richard.
He's a holdout.
He didn't know how to spell Gene. Okay. I'd like a motion to table this, and then we can come back to it. Okay, motion was made by Steve and seconded by Maureen. Thank you. We have to vote. Okay. Yeah,
We need
okay.
to answer we need to move on and let Carlin answer.
Yes.
So,
I-
Jasmine, Carlin.
Okay, I have the vote. What I want to do is pass this on to Carlin to confirm that we have the right number or not.
You need 10 to suspend the rules.
Yes?
You need a majority of the entire body, so 8
8.
to appoint.
Okay, so I was right. That's pretty good for a temporary chair. What we have is one individual has 7, 2 others have 3. There it is. Okay. What we can do is, let's make a motion to take off the table and have everybody re-vote. Then we'll table again and move on.
I think it's a public vote, so you need to tell them how many, who voted.
Okay.
It's a public document.
All right, I'll give you them. Tom Ballantyne received 3 votes, Weldon Crawford 7, Sharon Lemoyne 3. That's what we have. So, and he's going to go out and print some more documents. So we'll just leave the table the way it is, then we'll move on to the consent calendar. And then we'll come back to this resolution on the Planning and Zoning Commission member. Under the consent calendar, any item not pulled from the consent calendar are automatically approved in whole by 1 vote. Items pulled from the consent calendar are discussed and voted upon individually. A majority vote of the entire council, 8, is required to adopt the consent calendar. Call to council members and audience for items to pull. So far, what we have, so you all can write it down, then we'll move forward with other items that would be pulled. We have under the ordinances for introduction, we have ordinance, the first one, ordinance 6177. And then we have item number 3, ordinance 6194. And under resolutions, we have item number 2, resolution CS number C6132. If you all have the first, the item number 2 there. The next one is item number 3 by Mr. Smith, resolution CS number C6133. So if you all have that, I want to start down the row from council members. If anybody wants to pull an item. Mr. Dean? Okay. Mr. Fitzgerald?
None.
Mr. Thompson? Nothing. Audino?
No, thank you.
Mr. Tanner?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Fitzgerald? Excuse me, Ms. Blanchard?
No, sir.
I have none. Mr. Gros?
Yes, sir. I'd like to pull ordinance calendar number 6198, item number 7, under ordinances for introduction.
All right. Number 61, we already pulled that one.
Not number
No?
7.
Not number 7.
Okay,
Number 7.
okay.
Under intro.
Oh, under intro?
Yeah, number
Okay,
7.
okay.
I want the regular one to come in here.
61, sorry, wait, 6198?
None.
Oh, I didn't call, well, the reason I didn't call it, it wasn't written down. We had 6177 and 6194. So,
No, 6-1.
okay, we got, it's already been called. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go to Chris Canulette and Maureen O'Brien.
No more, thank you.
Mr. Stefancic?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Bender?
No, sir.
Mr. Smith?
None.
None. Administration? Okay. Staff? Anybody from the audience? Okay. Thank you very much. Would I like to someone to make a motion to approve the consent calendar? Okay. Over here, Marty Dean and I believe Red Thompson put his hand up first. So please vote.
Mr. Toledano? Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay. All right, now we'll go to the items that have been pulled, because I think we're still waiting for a vote count. All right, we'll start out with item on the ordinances for introduction. Item number 1, Mr. Smith wants to make a motion for ordinance calendar number 6177, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1.65 acres located west of Highway 11, south of A Avenue, north of Amos Street, and east of North 7th Street, Square 69, Alton subdivision from A4 single-family residential district to I1 industrial district, Ward 8, District 14. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the interest of ongoing negotiations and developments with this particular property that are moving but not moving at the speed that we would like to see them move, we would like to make a motion to postpone indefinitely.
All right, I need a second on the postponement. Mr. Stefancic, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, we have I'm just looking at all the information I received. I was given 2 items under ordinance for introduction, and we had a duplication on 6177. And then we go to 6194, which was taken care of. Yes. Under, let's see, that was, item number 3 on the ordinance for introduction was also a pull. That wasn't on the list. I was, yes, sir, let me stand corrected. 6194, it's the ordinance to amend precinct boundary legal descriptions with St. Tammany Parish to comply with the Louisiana Secretary of State Office regulation. It needs to be postponed. I've been advised that this has to be postponed.
So, in a second.
All right,
Wait, hold on.
yeah.
Can we have clarification?
All right, what is the reason for postponing the precinct boundary?
I just written down at committee, I had that Don had mentioned that it we didn't, I just wrote those notes down at committee.
Okay, so you're telling me that shouldn't be pulled, postponed?
Dina, this is the one that we're waiting on the boundary descriptions to be provided to us from IT, and it needs to be postponed. Correct.
It's 6194 is the one that needs to be postponed.
Yeah, that's what I'm, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
he read off 6193.
Oh, okay.
6194 is the one that
No,
needs to be postponed.
I
Yes.
read off 6194.
Okay.
I said ordinance to amend precinct boundary legal description with St. Tammany Parish to comply with Louisiana Secretary of State's office regulations. We can introduce and then you have to postpone. I thought we normally just postpone. Jake Grove has made a motion to postpone,
I second.
seconded by Michelle Blanchard. Is there any further discussion on this confusion? All right. Let's make a motion to vote on the postponement, please.
Motion is unanimous, one Mr. Stefanczyk, I
This
apparently
one
hit the
here.
button too soon.
What about this one? Oh, this is the one I had requested.
Motion is
to be-
unanimous, one absent. I got it.
This is the third one. I'm just going to drop it.
Okay, number 7 is the next one.
Yes.
6198.
Yeah. Yes. It's your finger. Wasn't applied with enough strength. Yes. We're going to have to check. That's just recorded as a voice vote since it wasn't recorded because he was there sitting pushing for it. All right? Okay. All right, under ordinance of introduction, we have another one, number 7, ordinance calendar number 6198, and I'm the one who requested this to be pulled at agenda review because I wanted people to be aware of what the parish government is trying to do to save people money. This is ordinance calendar number 6198, ordinance amending the parish code of ordinances relative to building permit fees by adding a new fee relative to handicap ramps. I want to pass this to Parish President Pat Brister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When we found that we were charging the same fee for a ramp that we would charge for a build-out square footage of a house, and it's really not necessary to charge that much for just adding a ramp. We reduced the amount to $60, the flat rate, and generally there's a reason for us to look at that and try to help whoever is trying to get that house, a ramp built to that house. So we just decided to reduce it overall.
Thank you very much for that.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Tanner?
I have a question,
Yes.
in my own, yeah. Pat, is there any way we can not charge anything for building?
If you make an ordinance, if you pass an ordinance for us not to charge
Well,
anything,
then I
we could.
wanna
That's how we
amend the
do it.
ordinance to say
But, I
they
mean,
don't-
we could, if you want, if that's the will of the council, we could do it. It's, you know, it's not a lot of work that we have to do to pay for in-house, so I don't think it would be difficult. We just chose an amount that would pay for the time of a person to look at it to make sure it was done correctly.
When the
But-
guy goes to inspect the house, he can look at it.
things like that. So that's why we charge anything at all. But if you feel that we need
Do
to.
you want to kill
that's up
this
to you.
motion complete? No, we need to make a motion or something. We want to introduce it and then amend it.
I'll second Mr.
Okay. Mr. Tanner will make a motion. Please make the motion so everybody has recorded.
Well, I think what we need to do is, I think we're gonna have to open the, get the ordinance on the table before we can amend it. So my motion's gonna be to introduce, and then I intend to amend it at the adoption time.
Okay?
Okay, they still will have to apply for the permit, though.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, they still have to apply for the permits.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Absolutely right.
I'd like to move to Mr. Groby, who wants to speak on this issue.
Mr. Tanner, thank you, Chair. Mr. Tanner kind of mirrored what I was going to say is, there can't be this big of an impact. I was going to waive all the fees, and I'll gladly second it.
Okay? All right, thank you very much.
I don't know why I'm not in the queue, but.
All right, Ms. Blanchard has to read, on my screen, I'm not seeing her, but has her mic to speak. Please do.
While I think it's very noble and worthy to explore this to see what to waive, if it's possible to waive, I'd just like to know the impact before we make that decision. So appreciate the staff's comment by the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Tanner, make your motion. It's made, okay. We have to vote. Just, okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Okay. Now we'll move to resolutions. We want to pull item number 2, resolution CS. Oh. We don't have the votes. Oh. We're just looking for the votes. They aren't being sent over. We'll just wait till everybody submits their sheets for the second vote. We'll start with the resolution CS number C6132, resolution authorizing St. Tammany Parish Fire Protection District Number 4, Fire Chief Kenneth Moore, the district to proceed with the issuance, sale, and delivery of not to exceed $5.5 million revenue bonds in one or more series. Chief Moore?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity of coming before you tonight. As you all know, we, in the last election, we tried to get a parcel fee passed, and the initial plan was to use the parcel fee to pay for personnel to build 2 new stations. The argument about needing the stations, I think, is very clear. We've got areas that we can't meet our response time in. Y'all have heard my speech. But one thing I need you to understand is that these are revenue bonds. This is just getting the cash to do it, and it's just like borrowing money to buy your house. And I know the question has come up and will come up about paying for these bonds, and if so, you know, how are we going to staff them? Well, for those of you, and I think I've explained this before, but I want to answer everybody's questions. One of the issues that we were dealing with in the beginning was that we have the same 4 fire stations we've had for over 30 years. Some of them are as old as 50 years. And we have taken what is meant for 1 fire truck and now put 9 people, 3 pieces of equipment, and they're stacked in there. So part of the funding was to make additions for those stations, along with adding 2 new stations. Well, as you know, the parcel fee failed 51 to 49%. And I respect that, and so I had to start looking for Plan B. Plan B is I still have to have the stations. We still have to have that 5-minute and 20-second first engine response time because we still can't meet it. So I haven't accomplished anything yet. So what we looked at was borrowing $5.5 million to acquire some equipment and which needs to be replaced and to build 2 new stations in the areas that we've already established need them, and that's going west toward Madisonville and in the area of Lakeview Hospital, somewhere in that area. We know where our problem areas are. This should have been done 10 years ago. It's got to be done now. But in doing so, I'm going to take what is now 3 pieces of equipment staffed in 1 station and split them up, split 2 of the stations into single engine company crews so that we can increase our response time. Would it be better if we had full staffing at every station? Absolutely, it would be better. It would be ideal. But the voters have spoken, and so, but my job is to get a quick response, both in fire and EMS, to our citizens. And this is the way I know we can do it. I've been consulting with Jim Ryan on the rates that go with this and what the cost would be. We're still going to do the spreading it out for 20 years, just like we talked about it all during the election. And I'll let Jim talk about the percentages and the cost. But currently we have 1 bond that we owe on, and we have 1 loan on the last ladder truck that we purchased back in 2014. I intend to pay those off and use the money that we've been making the annual payments to help supplement making these payments. So It's a matter of reshuffling our funds and our priorities, and anything that I'm short, we'll just have to short staff for a little while till we can afford to do it. But one of these days, if we can get these 2 stations in and we can split these up, then when the time comes, I'm going to be back trying to get them staffed fully. Jim, would you like to say anything?
Not unless you have any questions.
All right, I'd like to turn this over to Maureen O'Brien. I believe this is in your district.
Yes, sir. And I'm one of the sponsors, and I'm also going to say so moved. But I understand what you're trying to do, and I want to remind everybody, seconds count. I can sincerely appreciate what he's discussing, because as I've mentioned previously, my father, when he had a heart attack, did not get medical attention in a timely fashion. Now, that was not in St. Tammany Parish, but my family and I lived this, so we know how critically important it is. So I do thank you for being so conscientious and wanting to make sure that everyone is able to get the help they need. So again, so moved.
Pardon? Okay, we have Reichert Audino.
Thank you, Mr. Belisario. I just want to say that I spent some time, and to Chief Moore's credit, he spent some time with me and some of the other people that had worked with him before in this project. And it's clear to me that he has looked for and has located a very appropriate way to accomplish this. There's no question in my mind that these 2 fire stations are needed. There's no question in my mind either that this is a good financing mechanism to do this. Jim will certainly speak to that a little bit later. I think it's a good way to do it. He listened, to his credit, to the people speaking before with regard to the parcel fee. They rejected it, and he respected that. And now he's come back in a way that does not impose that burden on citizens. He's done a good job, in my view, and I support his right to go forward with this.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Second, thank you very much.
Okay. All right, we have T.J. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to ask a couple of questions. One of them was addressed in your comments, and that was going to be how you plan on paying this $5.5 million back. And I heard in there, though, that you're going to supplement that payment by paying off 2 loans that are currently outstanding.
That's correct.
One of the questions is, when will those be paid off? And not so much for me, but I do support your efforts in what you're trying to do, but so that we can just totally understand some of the details of your plan. And when will the term, and Jim will probably speak to this, when will the term of these bonds begin? So I'm just trying to match up when one's going to end and when the other's going to begin.
I understand. And the paying it off is contingent on these bonds getting passed. If they're not, then I'm just going to continue to make the payments, and we're going to do the very best we can. But if it passes, I intend to pay them off immediately once we issue the bonds. Jim, would you like to answer the other part?
No, I would. The chief didn't pay me to say this, but I just wanted to say to Ms. O'Brien and Mr. Toledano, and I believe also this is
Mike Loreno
district as well. In looking back at the finances of the district, which we have to do, we do a pretty comprehensive look back for 5 years. The chief is an incredible steward of the district's money. Really does a great job. As you all know, when you borrow money, the better your credit, the lower interest rates you get. It doesn't matter whether it's bonds or a homeowner or a car. We're looking, he's probably going to be somewhere in the 3.25 to 3.5 percentage point range on this loan. Okay. He's a very good steward of money, and that's reflected in the incredible interest rate that they got, much as it was reflected in the road bonds that the parish did last month.
Thank you.
And just, I'm sorry, one clarification too. The bonds are actually 22-year bonds. The chief had the foresight when he renewed his tax, when he went for his parcel fee. He also put on the ballot the renewal of his millage, and he renewed it 2 years early, which effectively gives him 2 years from his existing renewal and then 20 years into the future. So he's actually got 22 years, so he was able to stretch the payment out a little bit more and keep the debt service a little bit lower as well.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other further discussion? Like a motion to vote. I think we've got Maureen and Chris Canulet. So, Reichert, okay. All right, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I appreciate it, and I can assure you the citizens will reap the benefits. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I just been advised that the vote tally for the second time around is, I already voted. Who else didn't? If you all haven't turned in your tally sheet to our staff, please do. Well, okay. Who knows? Okay, all right. All right, so this is the last one. I need someone to make a new motion since the first one was closed out with the insufficient vote. So we need a new motion for this item for the vote. Okay? Okay. The first motion we have to do is to make the motion to take it off the table.
So move to take it off the
So,
table.
all right, who is second?
Second.
Reichert, all right, please vote. Okay. Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Group,
Okay.
motion is unanimous, two absent.
Okay. I believe at this point, we're ready to, I can provide you the tally with everybody's votes. Mr. Weldon Crawford received 8 votes, Sharon Lemoyne 4, and Tom Ballantyne 1. So it will be Mr. Yes.
They were tied for second.
Yeah, yes, because we didn't. It was, yeah. So, okay, that's right, because they both each had 3. We had 7, 3, 3. Weldon, okay, all right, there's too many conversations. Mr. Tanner, what we have is Tom Ballantyne, 1 vote. Weldon Crawford, 8. And that's the majority out of the 14, which I thought it was to begin with. Sharon Lemoyne received 4.
Okay.
So Weldon Crawford is the appointee to replace Jimmy Davis. Yes, sir.
I move to suspend the rules and appoint Weldon Crawford tonight.
All right, thank you, and the
I'd
second
just
is
like to
by-
make a comment on it if I could.
All right, please do.
The
Chris
zoning
Canulet,
commission is down to 9, and it's very difficult for them to get a quorum anymore, and we really need to get this done and get them on there as soon as possible, so.
We were all aware of that. That's one of the things that there's sometimes they need 8 votes. And with this situation with 11, if they don't get down to that, they get 7, there's items that they can't really pass. So this vote is critical to move it forward. That's why we want to suspend the rules and adopt. I believe the second was by Chris Canulet? Yes. All right. We need everybody to vote on this?
Is this to vote?
Yes.
To what?
Pardon me?
Suspend the rules and
Suspend the rules?
appoint.
That's been done, and it was seconded by Chris Canulet, so we need to vote to make it final. Jake, we need your vote. You voted early?
He may have said absent.
Just bear with us.
Motion passes, 11 yeas, 1 nay, 2 absent.
All right. All right. That takes care of that matter. The next item we have is Resolution number 3, Resolution CS number C6133, Resolution to establish St. Tammany Parish Complete Count Committee for the 2020 Census. Mr. Smith.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt.
Okay. Second by Maureen, second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Oh, Mr. Smith, you want to speak? Yes, Mr. Stefancic.
Yeah, I just want to make a note that since this resolution doesn't do it, I think it's normally the process is that the chairman would appoint that committee, and I wanted to make sure that that is considered in there.
Okay. All right, the staff denotes that so Mr. Lorino will know when he comes back from vacation. He has some extra work to do. All right. All right, we need everybody to vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right, thank you. That ends the consent calendar. Let's move to appeals. Okay. Under the appeals, note speaking time per side again is 10 minutes for each side, 3 minutes rebuttal, 2 minutes for conclusion, which allows questioning by the parish council member to either side. Under the first one, it's Robert Transco appealing the zoning commission approval of May 7, 2019 to rezone 28.9 acres west of Highway 59, S25T7S R11E from A1 Suburban to A4 Single Family Residential District, Ward 4, District 5. I'll pass this on to Mr. Reichert.
Mr. Belisario, thank you very much. Let me note for your record that appeals number 1 and number 2 are joint compatible appeals involving the same property. In each case, I've been working through the issue. We don't have a resolution yet. On that basis, I'm going to move to postpone.
No, let's do them separately.
If voted on separately, I move to postpone item number 1 in
Okay.
appeals.
Who's the seconds by Chris Canulette? Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
All right, thank you. We'll go to item number 2, Robertson Coso appealing the zoning commission approval on May 7, 2019 to rezone 70.9 acres west of Highway 59, south of Dove Park Road from A1 Suburban to A4 Single Family Residential District, PUD Plan Unit Development Overlay, and major amendment to the PUD Plan Unit Overlay, Ward 4, District 5. Mr. Toledano.
For the identical reasons, move to postpone item number 2.
Seconded by Chris Canulette. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Okay. All right, we'll go to appeal number 3. William Lape III Trey appealing the Planning Commission approval on April 9, 2019 of a re-subdivision of parcels designated as squares 310, 327, 340, 341, and 360 in portions of Jones, Lavois, Colbert, Nelson, and Armand Streets located west of Jones Street, north of Preble Street, and Maroney Trace subdivision, Ward 4, District 7. Mr. Groby.
Open the floor.
Okay. I believe what we have is I've been advised that both sides have reached an agreement and want to speak on that, and then the appeal is to be withdrawn. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman. Yep. My name is Trey Late. My office address is 1966 North Highway 190, Suite B in Covington. I'm the attorney of record for the Woodlands Property Owners Association, who appealed 2 appeals, one of which is on the calendar tonight, and the second of which is a second appeal regarding a right-of-way ratification for the same property by the developer and the applicant McKint LLC, which is identified as owned by Mr. Gary Intravia and Mr. Kelly McHugh. That LLC is represented by Mr. Jeff Shane, who's here this evening. Mr. Shane and I had reached a settlement which contemplated me appearing before you tonight and informing the council that my client is withdrawing both of his appeals, or its appeals, that which is docketed this evening, as well as the second one that is not before you. And we simply wanted to memorialize that on the record. And in addition to that, my client, and I believe Mr. Shane may echo that, would like to thank Councilman Groby first for facilitating that community meeting at which several property owners, including my client, were at, and then separately with administration for facilitating subsequent meetings, all of which helped Mr. Shane and I reach that deal yesterday, and so we are withdrawing our appeal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shane, you want to speak?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff Shane of the Jones v. Sell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, and I represent McKint LLC, which is the owner and developer of Kingswood subdivision, which was the subject of this appeal. I'm in full accord with Mr. Lape's comments and want to confirm that we have a settlement agreement between the parties. I also agree that without Mr. Groby's leadership and foresight in bringing it, one time was sort of a group that didn't want to be in the same room. Eventually, the group could live with each other in the same room, and we are really satisfied with the agreement that's been reached. I want to just conclude by saying that my client and the Kingswood subdivision development truthfully and honestly looks forward to being good, compatible neighbors with Woodlands and all the other subdivisions in that area, and we'll try to work with them on all infrastructure issues that they deem to be important and critical to them, hoping that we can be a good part of that community. So I thank you for the time.
Thank you. I need Jake to make the motion to...
Motion to concur with the approval.
Okay. Need any other further discussion? Need a second from Mr. Got a second from Chris Canulet. Please vote. Yes.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right, Mr. Jake Crowe, I need a resolution from you. No, just to move it for the ordinance for introduction.
No, you're adopting a resolution.
Okay. Where's the second?
I'll be happy to
Second by Michelle. That's it.
No, we need to vote.
We need to vote on this.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay. The fourth and final appeal, I'm going to remove myself as the temporary chair and have a vice chair take the lead on this, because I want to make a motion, so we'll change seats.
No, we're okay.
Okay.
I can take the chair from here. It's
We don't
okay.
have to switch, okay. Item number 4, Anita and Charles Yarborough, Mary Caspar, Christina Flemming, and Joseph Pizzuto appealing the zoning commission approval on June 4, 2019 to rezone 2.5 acres south of West Power Line Road, west of Highway 41, being 37190 West Power Line Road from A2 Suburban District to A2 Single Family Residence District and MHO Manufactured Overhigh Ward 8 District 9. I'm making a motion to postpone and make a second. Second by David. We'll open up the floor for discussion.
Mr. Belisario?
Yes. I've made this motion because I learned through the appeal process, which did not come up during the zoning commission meeting, that from both sides on this area has had flooding problems for many, many years. I brought out the area foreman to look at the land, and he says, you need to get an engineer to look at this to make sure this change to this piece of land won't have any adverse impact. I want to see the results of that, so this is why I'm making the postponement for 1 month.
And who's going to do
I'm sorry, we haven't recognized anybody else. Is there any cards, Madam Clerk, that have been turned in? If somebody would like to speak, they would have to turn in a card.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Belisario, conclude your comments on this matter?
Yes.
Okay. I see no member in the queue. I believe that we need a motion to postpone, which has been made by Mr. Belisario. Do I have a second? Second by
It was
Mr.
David
Stefan,
Fi- okay.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
With
All right.
that, and no member in the queue, please vote.
I can't vote. I can't vote. I can't vote. Yes, can.
You can vote. I took over.
Okay.
And Mr. Belisario, I relinquish the chair.
Thank you very much. Now we'll.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay. Under ordinances for adoption, okay, item number 1, ordinance calendar 6066, ordinance to amend section 115-3 of the Parish Code of Ordinances relative to fill mitigation by Mr. Lorino is the sponsor. And I want to read his statement so that everybody's aware of this. Council Chairman Mike Lorino called for a special council meeting on June 24th for the Drainage/Mitigation Study Work Group, DMSW, to give their report to the council. However, an error in the meeting notice indicating a day and date that were not compatible with one another warranted a cancellation of that meeting date. Chairman Lorino has therefore selected revised date of Wednesday, July 31st, 2019, immediately following the 6 p.m. Agenda Review Committee meeting in council chambers for the DMSW to make their report to the council members. Therefore, he has asked that ordinance calendar number 6066, ordinance to amend section 115-3 of the Parish Code of Ordinances relative to the fill mitigation be postponed to the August 8, 2019 council meeting. I need a motion by Richard Tanner and seconded by Reichert Toledano. Any further discussion? Please vote. Oh, excuse me. There was a whole... Nobody needs to speak. Okay. Please vote. Oh, okay. Mr. Stefancic, yes. Right.
I ain't got any place to turn it on.
Okay.
If you'll please allow the clerk a moment to
Clear it all.
We're postponing this to the August meeting, then what are they going to do at the special council meeting?
The special council meeting
You can't
is
bring
what...
this up and talk about it.
No, what has not transpired because of these delays, we have had at least a half a dozen meetings where 20 to 30 or 40 people come to discuss it. That's, the only council members have heard that are the ones who are on the fill committee. What Mike wants to do is to have the full council and other participants to come in and discuss this issue. Because the next step after this is adopted, he's going to create a new committee to start a more longer range review of the various ordinances to see what needs to be changed to improve the quality, if you want to call it that, of how we handle zoning cases and planning commission cases. Because the biggest thing has come out of this is the concern on drainage and flooding. And that is drummed through very clearly, so both sides in effect have agreed that we need to look at this. So he wanted to have a full discussion meeting so all the council members would be able to know what has transpired. I believe everybody was sent a package of all the meeting minutes to read over, so when you come to the meeting on the 31st, you're up to date, and we'll seek more input from the public, our staff. I mean, Sidney Fontenot and Jay Watson have done an excellent job on providing information. So we want to make sure that there's, as a part of full disclosure, is put this out there to get people the right to speak on this so they know what we're looking at to do and why. So that's what it's all about. You okay, Jerry?
Real quick, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I was simply going to say, and I think that our chair, Mr. Lorino, our full-time chair, is taking the right approach on this, because as a council member, I can read these notes, but it's not the same as being in a full-blown discussion and hearing the back and forth questions and answers that are given. And might add, this is completely open to the public also as a special council meeting. So I want to continue with that, and I'm going to support postponing this.
All right, thank you very much. And that's what Mike has been striving for, but because of these technical glitches, we had to defer to this point in time. So we've got the motion. We just have to vote. We're there. I want to thank everybody for listening. This has been a haul just to get to this point, but it completes the introduction and starting probably after the August meeting with the new committee. They'll spend probably months coming forth with public meetings to work this situation out. Thank you all.
Ms. O'Brien? Motion is unanimous, no, one absent.
All right, thank you very much. We will go to item number 2, ordinance calendar number 6154, ordinance amending the Parish Unified Development Code to include additional language in the definition of funeral home. Blanchard.
So moved.
I need a second. By Chris Canulette. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Move to item number 3, ordinance calendar number 6180, ordinance to authorize the office of the parish president to accept the dedication and donation of Hunter Lane, Fitzgerald, Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald?
So moved.
It was seconded by Red Thompson. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay. Item number 4, ordinance calendar number 6181, ordinance to authorize the parish president to declare 195 acres as surplus property to authorize the sale to Parish Recreation District Number 1, Ward 4, District 7. Mr. Groby?
So moved.
Need a second? Second. Second by Reichert. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right, thank you. We come to ordinance number 5, ordinance calendar number 6182, ordinance to authorize the parish president to acquire a portion of State Route 10, LA 1077 from LA DOTD, Ward 2, District 3. Mr. Thompson?
So moved.
Need a second? Marty Dean? Okay. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay. Item number 6, ordinance calendar number 6183, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1 acre from A2 to A3, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean? Need a second? Mr. Thompson? Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay. Go to item number 7, ordinance calendar number 6184, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 0.87 acres from A2 to A2 in MHO, Ward 8, District 13. Ms. Blanchard?
So moved.
Need a second? Steve Stefancic. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay, now, item number 8, ordinance calendar number 6185, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 3,820 square feet from A4 to PF1, Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald?
So moved.
Need a second? Mr. Thompson? Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
All right, item number 9, ordinance calendar number 6186, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1.12 acres from 8C2 to A4A, Ward 8, District 13.
Move to postpone to the next meeting.
Need a second? Mr. Thompson? Okay, any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
All right, we go to item number 10, ordinance calendar number 6187, ordinance amending the Parish zoning map to reclassify 1.6 acres from HC1 to HC3, Ward 1, District 4. We have 2 cards. We have 2 cards. Okay. We have to, have you introduced it, Reichert? Is there a second? Chris Canulette. We have Marshall Hebion.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Marshall Hevron. I represent the potential owners of this property. I don't want to take much of your time, but they're seeking to change the zoning from an HC1 to an HC3. They're going to build a gas station and filling station on this site. It's going to be a first-class facility. They need the increased zoning in order to make it work financially for them. This is in Councilmember Lorino's district. We've met with him. He's supportive of this, and we were supported by the zoning commission as well, and we ask for your support tonight.
All right, thank you. Then we have Richard Reun. I believe you're for this case.
Yes, sir. Richard Revere,
Okay.
125 Japanier Road, on adjoining property, and I have no problem with the stuff.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, we have our motion and a second for the introduction. Any further discussion? No one's in the queue, so please vote.
Yeah. Magic.
Mr. Stefanczyk? Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
All right, thank you. Item number 11, ordinance calendar number 6188, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 5,130 square feet, A5 to NC2, Ward 4, District 4. Mr. Taldano?
So moved to adopt.
Second, Mr. Thompson. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Item number 12, ordinance calendar number 6189, ordinance accepting final subdivision to the road and drainage inventories, specifically Forest Brook subdivision Phase 4A3. I believe this goes with Maureen O'Brien. Jake Roby,
Yes.
in the second.
Second.
Reichert Toledano. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Okay. Ordinance calendar number 6190, ordinance to amend Parish Code of Ordinance, Section 6-34, location restrictions. Mr. Thompson?
So moved.
We have two, seconded by, I guess, Marty Dean. Okay, we have 2 cards that are against. The first one I have is David Spade.
Council members, I'm sure you're aware of the effects that alcohol has on our society, civically, nationally, locally. Everybody knows some of the, negative effects that we have concerning alcohol. And 500 feet's not a huge buffer zone for our churches and our schools. And I'm just asking that you don't shrink that.
Okay.
We need larger buffer zones, not smaller buffer zones. So I just beg you to keep it where it is and
All right, thank
oppose
you.
this. Thank you.
Okay. Carter Hernandez. Carter says, you know you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Carlo Hernandez. The time has started. I spoke when this was first introduced and advised the council that the change was being made from the present regulation of 500 feet down to 300 feet to conform with state legislation. The state legislation has been in effect since at least 2006 without any amendments. The 300-foot portion of it has been in place longer than that, much longer than that, just as long as the 500-foot regulation has been in place. And I guess the question that I have, and hopefully that the council will agree, that there is no need to change this. I mean, this 300-foot has been in place for many years. It's now being suggested to be changed for a purpose, and the facilities that would be affected are, of course, schools, elementary, middle, the junior high, and the high schools, synagogues, playgrounds, libraries, full-time daycare centers, correctional facilities which houses inmates, and halfway houses. Those are the facilities that would be affected by this change. Now, I'm suggesting that 500 feet is plenty enough room right now and should be maintained for all of those facilities. And I see, hopefully, that you will agree that there is no need to make any changes regarding this. And if there is a particular facility that needs a consideration, then possibly the mode to take is going by way of the Board of Adjustments to reach some consideration. Right now, there is no need, I believe, to make any changes to the existing 500-foot regulation. Thank you.
You're welcome, Carlo. Mr. Thompson.
To agree with Mr. Hernandez, state law is 300 feet. All your cities in this parish are 300 feet. Why is the unincorporated area of this parish at 500 feet? Okay? All I see us doing is hurting, mom and pop stores out in the rural areas of the parish. And also, if you think about it, we're hurting ourselves on sales tax. So, I mean, it used to be 300 feet in this parish a long time ago. Might have been underneath the police jury days. I don't exactly remember. And then it got changed to 500 feet. So I'll make the motion to adopt the ordinance.
All right, second? We already have it.
No member in the queue.
There's no members in the queue. Please vote.
Motion passes, 12 yeas, 1 nay, 1 absent.
All right, we move to item number 14, ordinance calendar number 6191, ordinance to amend the 2019 operating budget, amendment number 6. Mr. Audino.
Thank you. Motion to adopt with Ms. Long is here to provide a brief explanation for your record.
Okay, I need a second. Second by, okay, David. David Fitzgerald. Yeah. She still has to, he's asked her to find the information.
Ordinance calendar 6191 is our sixth amendment to the operating budget, and it includes several items, several related to the bond issue that we recently had to set up the funding for the new debt service, and also in the Department of Engineering for some contracts related to our D firms, bridge inspections, and a utility system assessment.
Thank you. Okay, you're right. There's no one else, the admin, remove the admin. All right, the roll was clear. Have a motion to vote, please.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay. Item number 15, ordinance calendar number 6192, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 120.434 acres from A2 and NC4 to NC3, NC5, CB1, PF2, and RO Rural Overlay, Ward 8, District 13.
So moved.
Need a second? Jake Groby. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay. I need a motion to adjourn. Thank you all.